Hello and now welcome to step 2. In step 2, we discuss about this topic known as competitive intelligence. So what is competitive intelligence? Competitive intelligence for SEO is the process of online competitor analysis to help guide your most important decisions for optimizing your pages. It also helps you to evaluate the competitive landscape and hence the level of difficulty and potential effort required to rank for a specific search term in the SERPs. The level of competitive difficulty is inversely related to effort. In other words, the more difficult the landscape, the more competitive the landscape, the more effort you will have to put in. So actually it's not inverse, it's directly proportional. In case you're wondering, why bother with difficulty? Because it's one thing to say I'm willing to put more effort, but it's another thing where that effort is a lost cause. And you want to be careful as an entrepreneur to be careful of a lost cause. So in other words, for example, if you have a desire to be a runner, like to run a 100-meter race, well, good on you. It's always good to have dreams at whatever age. But if you end up with a goal of running under 10 seconds for 100-meter distance, I would consider that as a lost cause, because no matter how much effort you put in, no matter how motivated you are, the probability of you getting to that 10 seconds for some of us is 0. That's a lost cause. So I'm making things very clear because I want you to know that there are many situations where the competitive landscape is extremely tough and any attempt to want to get there is a lost cause. And you're better off focusing on other landscape where you have a better chance at dominating in the SERPs. Now, what does it entail really in terms of competitive intelligence? The analysis involves both strengths and weaknesses of not just current but also potential competitors. Now, so let's define what we mean by current and potential. Generally, in SEO, the current competitors refer to the top 10 because they are already on page 1, and the potential competitors are those on page 2 because the guys on page 2 want to get to page 1. Therefore, when we talk about current and potential competitors, what we are saying is that you should, depending on how strategic that keyword is and how important that keyword is to your business, if you want to be really extensive in CI, you should be looking at up to 20 competitors, 10 current and 10 potential on page 2. Continuing along, CI is about understanding what your competition is doing to rank high in the SERPs. It's a systematic analysis that is done on a regular basis to see how the competition changes their online strategy. You can find clues by looking at their website to see how often they're making changes. Their social media is also typically very visual clues on the level of effort they put in towards their marketing. Of course, it's also looking at their on-page and off-page factors, which is why we spend a lot of time understanding on-page factors. We understand off-page factors so that we can recognize a legitimate on-page tweak when we see one, and we can process or imagine the potential outcome of that type of tweaks. Similarly, for off-page, we need to know whether they're a moving target or they're a static target, and the off-page analysis will give you a very good insight. So there are two groups of people that I'm referring to. One is where you already are in your business and you are leveraging SEO to improve your business. So you're already in a niche, and now all it takes is for you to go through all the steps and get into work. You are like a price taker. You can't choose your niche because your niche has been already selected. It is what you're doing in the business, and you're here to learn best practice SEO to improve your business. The other group of entrepreneurs, consider yourself very, very fortunate that you don't have a niche that you must work on. And why do I say this? I say this because if I understand SEO best practice and I understand the tips and strategies, I'll be far more successful in applying SEO in a niche where the competitors are sleeping, and avoid a niche where the competitors are a moving target. The analogy is this, right? If you're going to be using a gun in a firing range to shoot at a target, what is easier, a moving target or a static target? Of course, the answer will be a static target for sure. It's not moving. You can take your time and aim and go. A moving target is much more difficult to hit the bullseye. isn't it? So what is the equivalent of a moving target in SEO? A moving target is one that consistently works on both their on-page and off-page factors. The question, of course, also is how many are we dealing with? Are we dealing with one of this kind of crazy competitor, or are we dealing with 10? Because if we are dealing with 10 crazy competitors, they are all moving target, they're all constantly working on-page and off-page factors, you can forget about trying to compete with them. Especially if you are just a recreational guy, you're staying at home, you're lazy, you don't want to spend money, you don't want to spend research, you don't want to add pages, you're finished before you even started. And this is probably perhaps the most important takeaway for all of you here. Don't fight in a niche you cannot win. Let's say if you tell me that you're interested in starting a website for hotel bookings, what would I say? I would say, are your hotel inventory unique to you? And you say, no, I'm going to become an affiliate and promote all the hotel inventory like everybody else. Then I'll say, don't bother. Why? Because if your hotel inventory is not even unique, there's already Booking.com, Agoda, Expedia. These guys are all moving targets. These companies at any one time have 20 people in the office in Phuket. All of them are doing SEO. Some are doing content, some are doing public relations, some of them are working towards building page rank. You were dead before you even started. Without the right foundation in SEO, a lot of people don't understand it enough to take a strategic positioning. And what I'm trying to say here in competitive intelligence is that one of the biggest takeaway that you need to know is my competitive landscape a moving target or a static target? To give you a perspective on my choice to do my flight training business. The reason why I did my flight training business or I embark on it has to do with some affinity because aviation is a hobby of mine. But that aside, there has to be economic reasoning. And here's my economic reasoning. Before I started flight school in November 2016, it was very clear to me that my competitors in that space were absolutely not moving targets. They were not even static targets, but I think they were dead targets. They were not moving. I look at their on-page and off-page factors. Horrible website, horrible content, not even keyword-driven. Their off-page, well, they do have page rank for sure. Because, you're Flying Club, Singapore Flying Club, Seletar Flying Club. You're going to get press mentions. But I knew for sure that they were light years behind me. And I took the chance to get into that industry, knowing that I'm going to face off all these flying clubs. And of course, as they say, the rest is history, because even up to today, they don't seem interested in wanting to catch up with me. And I know why, because they're all non-profit. So they don't have a motivation to optimize their website better, to win more clients, to get more business. And that's why I have the unique privilege of dominating my niche. And of course, I have a better product. My simulator training right now is cheaper, more comprehensive than flying a real aircraft, and it adds real business value or personal value in if you wanted to achieve your private pilot license in the lowest cost, you just cannot beat my solution. And that's also important. That becomes your UVP, your unique value proposition. You don't just choose a business to get into because you are an SEO hotshot. You have to go all the way to the end to see what business am I involved in. Can it compete in the SERPs based on the existing competitive landscape? Can I innovate in the business? Can I scale the business? Look at the end in mind, because SEO is merely a vehicle to get you there. You have to understand the value proposition in everything you do. Whether you use SEO or not is beside the point. There must be value proposition in a business model that you are involved in. You must be able to innovate from now moving forward. And you just have to be better than your competitors. The point in step 2 is to understand, look here, the only people that can stop you from achieving your dreams is your competition. Because unlike other businesses like running, where it's your personal best timing, in SEO, how well you do and how fast you get to page 1 number 1 depends on the friction that your competitive landscape applies to you. The more friction they give you, the more effort you need to get to page 1. And if you miscalculate, even after you get to page 1, the rewards may not be forthcoming, and that is the most damning thing. If you're really serious about your niche and you're doing SEO, don't wait until 3-4 months later, 6 months later, that you realize the keyword that you eventually want to rank for is not converting. Because it's not just a ranking that is going to result in revenue success, it's also going to be the offer that you have on your landing page. So why not test your offer in front. Then you say, how do I do that? Run Google Ads. Ahead of time, assuming you already have a nicely built website, while waiting for SEO to kick in, run Google Ads. If you do not convert on the Google Ads, the chances of you converting on SEO is going to be very, very similar. So don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that you do have a tool set when it comes to search engine strategy. You have Google Ads, while you have the ads, paid search ads, you have organic approach. Very often, the astute SEO guy or girl will run Google Ads if your reward is revenue share. Because if you cannot convert on Google Ads, it is not an SEO problem. It is a landing page and offer problem. And fix that problem first while waiting for your website to give you organic traffic.